Thank you. My name is Juker Gomberg, and I'm with Now Magazine in Toronto. I saw a presentation this morning in the press conference here this morning. Canadian delegation talked about how the Kyoto Protocol, if adopted, would actually only buy 10 years' time in terms of protecting the climate. Now, I hear a lot of talk here about the politics of actually protecting the climate, but I want to get back to the basics of actually protecting the climate, which I think is really the item that's on the agenda, it should be on the agenda. Are we not, or should we not really be talking about fossil fuels and the phase out of fossil fuels? And is that on the agenda for the IPCC, and is the IPCC wrestling with that? Because it seems to me that there's a lot of negotiations around sinks and all kinds of things to try to compensate for the burning of the fossil fuels. How about getting back to the basics of actually taking that?
The climate doesn't care whether we reduce emissions from fossil fuels or we increase sequestration in forests or agricultural lands. So from a purely scientific perspective, it doesn't matter. In other words, all greenhouse gases should be considered, not just carbon dioxide. But it doesn't matter if I can control the emissions versus control the uptake. And so theoretically, if I can continue to increase the sinks for forests, that's perfectly acceptable. All you care about is what stays in the atmosphere. The Canadian comment this morning is absolutely correct. The Kyoto Protocol probably only delays, I wouldn't have even put 10 years, I would have guessed even less. It's a number of years, and say I guess the number is slightly less than 10. So why is it important? It's important because it sends a signal to Annex I countries and hence to industry that policies and technologies will have to change, even in Annex I countries, to meet the target. If you want, and some of those new technologies are likely to diffuse to developing countries to help them become less greenhouse gas emitting. But even more important, if you want to meet the ultimate objective of Article 2 of the Convention, there's no question, the Kyoto Protocol is only one small step towards it. It will ultimately require much greater reductions in Annex I countries, and at some stage, commitments by developing countries. Globally emissions will have to be less than today's emissions, if we're ever going to stabilise, and probably half of today's emissions, if we're going to stabilise greenhouse gas concentrations, which is the ultimate objective of the Climate Convention. So the Kyoto Protocol is a critical first step. The fact it only slows down the global warming a little bit, do not say that that's inadequate. It's a good first step. What it means is it will have to be followed by many more steps by both Annex I and non-Annex I countries if the ultimate goal of the Convention is to be achieved. I really do need to run off here, and I will be around for the rest of the week, so rather than grabbing me as I leave, because otherwise I'm going to miss this bus, I'm more than happy to talk to any of you over the next 4 or 5 days.
Cops are watching us.